Hello, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Para New Orleans, the Paranormal New Orleans podcast, where we tell tales of the strange, the spooky, the otherworldly, and the unexplained from across the greater New Orleans area, Louisiana, and beyond. I am your hostess, Fat Girl Freestyle. We are in the midst of spooky season. It is soon coming to a close. So I wanted to share an extra special tale with you today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this special bonus episode of Para New Orleans, the Paranormal New Orleans podcast. I'm sure you've been told about the dangers of conjuring up spirits. Now, when I say conjuring up spirits, I'm not just talking about a Ouija board, although that is part of it. I'm also talking about casting spells, doing spiritual work unsupervised. I'm talking about pulling up spiritualists on TikTok and following their uninformed advice. Too many things are going wrong in the spiritual world because people are not following good advice, because people are just doing things on their own simply because they feel like they can. I'm going to warn you, you have to be careful. When you are dealing with the spiritual world, I feel like I should not have to keep repeating this over and over and over again, but I cannot tell you how many times people have come into my shop asking for my help to correct their mistake, their problem. How many people have walked into my shop with spirits attached to them? Spirits that I can't even get rid of. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of Julia. It's not her real name. I'm protecting her identity, but her story needs to be shared because people refuse to understand. Julia was in her mid 30s, lovesick over a man, of course. Isn't that how these stories always start? Lovesick over a man who barely paid her any attention. He had several other women, but Julia wanted him all to herself. She had tried everything in the realm of normal possibilities, that is. And then she decided that she needed to go a different route in order to get her way. Something stronger, something more powerful. She went searching online, went to social media, found a bunch of random things to just put together. It's my understanding that she had reached out to several self proclaimed psychics and readers, witches, everyone telling her the same thing: let this man go, move on. You are treading into dangerous territory, trying to capture something that is not meant to be yours. But she didn't listen. She refused to listen. She eventually found someone in the local area. And let's just say this person existed on the outskirts of the spiritual community because of their unethical practices. Unfortunately, people still sought her out, even though she knew the things that she practiced was very dangerous. So Julia goes to her and gives her whatever fee she's asking. They go out into a field in the dark of night. Julia has brought some of this man's hair, an item of his clothing, a few other things that belong to him. You see, Julia had been sneaking into this man's home when he was gone and collecting these things, which that in and of itself is dangerous. But she obtained this property in the wrong manner. And not only that, but the whole situation was already tainted, so there was no way it was going to go her way. But this woman, Julia, had turned to for this spiritual assistance. I will call her Mieko. Mieko had been basically banished from many spiritual circles. Some believed that she was psychotic. Others knew that it was a more serious situation and that Mieko was actually possessed by some long dead, vengeful spirit. So she takes Julia out into the cover of night into this field. And from what I was told, there was a mixture of blood magic, the sacrificing of a small animal, and some other things that I dare not even discuss. They were out there until right before the sun came up. Julia tells me that she felt a very powerful shift. She said Mieko called spirits from under the ground. You might think spirits of the dead. But what she called forth was never alive to begin with. She sent Julia off thinking that this man would eventually be hers, but mm. The other part of this story is that the man Julia was after was quite violent, aggressive. The spirits were doing Julia a favor by keeping them apart, but she would not listen. It would lead to her downfall. Julia said after 7 days, things started to shift. And it was almost as if this man became obsessed with her. He started just showing up where she lived, where she worked, at the grocery store, while she shopped. She thought it was cute at first. Until she came home one evening to find him sitting in her living room, hands bloodied, with a twisted smile on his face. She asked him what happened. And he said he had caught someone on her porch, thinking that this was a lover of hers. He beat the person up so severely, the young man had to go to the hospital. Turns out he was simply delivering a package. He didn't even know who Julia was. This is when she began to realize that perhaps she had made a mistake. He refused to leave. He monitored her phone calls. He wouldn't even let her eat or use the bathroom by herself. It was becoming quite the situation. But things would only get darker. Julia herself began to feel different. strange. She specifically told me that she herself felt as though she were possessed by something. By the time she showed up in my shop, 2 months had passed, and the situation with her and this man was so serious. She was barely sleeping at night. She thought he might take her life while she slept. When she came in to see me, I could look at her and tell something was not right. We went to the back. I set her down and I put her into a trance. It was worse than I thought. Mieko had implanted a dark entity within Julia, one of those dark entities that attracts other dark entities to it. I began to ask it questions. I asked if it had a name. I am nothing. Was its response. I tried my best to force it to come forward and out. But I am powerful. You can't control me. She is mine. She is mine, and you cannot separate. You have no power here. She is mine forever. I was chilled to my bones. I had seen a lot of things. Spiritual world, I had seen a lot of things, but this, I can't even say that Mieko was working with dark magic, because this was something bigger than dark magic. It took me over an hour to pull Julia out of that trance. And I had to send her away and tell her, I can't help you. Your best bet is to go back to the person who did this. She called me a couple of days later to tell me that Mieko had disappeared. She was nowhere to be found. And could I please help her because she was starting to have very, very dark thoughts. I told her there was nothing I could do. I did not have what she needed. If anything even existed to help her. The next time I heard about Julia, she had attacked her boyfriend, and not just attacked him, but decapitated him. She also went to two of the other women's houses. At one house, she not only slaughtered the woman, but also her elderly mother. The second woman actually survived because her neighbor heard the commotion and busted into the house and actually saved her. Shot Julia, didn't kill her, but injured her enough to where the authorities were able to take her in. The young woman Julia attacked, in describing the incident, said some very strange things. She said there was a voice that came from Julia's body. It sounded like it came from the pits of hell. Not only that, but she said Julia turned completely black. And not black as in skin color, but black as in blacker than the night, like a shadow pressed up against darkness. People thought maybe she was traumatized and was just hallucinating. But I knew that she had really seen the form of the thing that existed in Julia. Of course, she wasn't deemed fit to stand trial. She was committed to a psychiatric facility for an undetermined amount of time. They said she stopped speaking in a regular voice and babbled on in some strange language nobody could interpret. I don't know what to this day it was. Thankfully, I've never encountered anything even close to it ever again. Well, not yet anyway. I hope to never have that experience. That was about 6 years ago. I'm telling this story now because I need you to be on the lookout. Apparently, Julia somehow escaped from the facility where she was. And I'm saying escaped, but that's really not how they described it. There were no attacks, no broken windows or busted doors, stolen keys, none of it. Julia I know this is going to, I know this is going to sound like a scene from a movie. But Julia turned into a shadow and walked right through the door and out of the facility. They do have it on camera, of course, and they say that it was just some glitch in the system. But when she got outside, she was in human form again. They say before she disappeared into the woods near the facility, she turned, looked up at one of the cameras, and in a voice that made your blood run cold, said, "I am nothing." And then she just disappeared. I hope that it Julia has returned to the deepest depths from whence it came. But I wanted to give you a warning just in case. Be on the lookout. Be aware. But most importantly, don't go fooling around with things that you just don't know. Please. Please. Stay safe. Well, that was certainly a very interesting tale. Probably one of the few that had me on edge. So take heed, dear listeners, and don't go playing around with things that are not of this world. Be mindful and aware when you are entering into the spiritual realms. You never know what you might bring back. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening to this special bonus episode of Paranorleans. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to support this independent operation, you can do so by sharing these episodes with your family, friends, coworkers, and people in line with you at the grocery store. That is, if any of us can still afford to purchase groceries. Make sure to tell them to follow the Paranorleans podcast on Spotify or wherever you find podcasts. Make sure you are also subscribed to the Fat Girl Freestyle YouTube channel. That's Fat Girl Freestyle channel. I share other spooky tales there as well. And there is a Paranorleans podcast playlist on the channel. You can also donate monetarily if you like. It's Fat Girl Freestyle on Venmo and Chime. fatgirlfreestyle@gmail.com on Apple Pay and Zelle. But most importantly, make sure you are liking, sharing, commenting on the YouTube channel. Make sure you are also commenting on Spotify. It helps to get the content recognized. Again, I appreciate you for being here with me. This has been your hostess with the mostest, Fat Girl Freestyle. And thank you for listening to Paranorleans, the Paranormal New Orleans podcast. Take care.